This is the factory 8-inch infotainment system out of my 2021 GMC Sierra. This is the all-new 16.2-inch Tesla-style screen made by Z Innovations to go in any 2019 to 2026 Chevy Silverado or GMC Sierra, as long as it came with this old, unrefreshed interior with a 7 or 8-inch screen. Now this one here is different than anything that I've tested to date, so we're gonna take a look at it. Let's go. Now, if you're wondering why I didn't show the removal of this unit right here, it's because I've done it in so many videos. I'll leave a link in the video description below where it shows the full removal of the original system, and then you can jump to that if you decide to, and then come back to this video, which now doesn't have to be as long because it doesn't include the removal of this unit, and then we can focus on demonstrating the new one. Now, if you've watched my reviews in the past, you know that I've reviewed other screens, whether it be Z Innovations screens, which they have horizontal versions, or whether it be another brand screens, which they only offer these vertical versions. Now, like I said, this one is different than any of the others that we've seen before on this channel. So let me explain some of the key differences. So first, let's look at the finish. You can see it's a very clean design, very tight tolerances. These replacement buttons from the factory buttons, they have a nice feel to them. And then down below in these openings, we replace all the hardware from the original system. You can see we have the vents beside the vertical screen. These knobs are able to be retrofitted, or they're at least designed to be down the road, to perhaps upgrade to LED displays like we have in the original knobs that come on the factory head unit, where these are LEDs that show you what your temperature is at. If LED knobs do become available and I get a hold of a set, I'll be sure to retrofit them on here to show you what that process looks like. So speaking of retrofitting, one of the biggest differences with this screen is that this is completely removable. So if they decide to upgrade this inner panel to a taller screen, a little different design, it's possible because this screen is able to be pulled out. So there's these tabs right here. I'm just going to give it a go and see what we come up with. Now I measured the screen and I think it's closer to 15 3/4 inches, not 16.2. Well, that was not hard at all. So there's our shell. Now look at how easy it is to access all the wiring and just swap out the screen if we ever needed to do so. That's a pretty cool benefit right there, because I know that these can be annoying to take in and out, in and out, in and out. And I know that because I've installed 5 different screens and pulled them out and put them back in multiple times. Another cool benefit with the screen out of the way, you have access to mounting holes for your screws right up top here. So you have the 2 mounting points there. You have the ones at the bottom, but you also have ones in behind these bezels right here, which if you just pop these clips, you gain access to the other hole there. So from a mounting standpoint, this is probably the most secure one that I've tested of the vertical formats. And if you want to match your interior, these would be very easy to wrap with some vinyl and then just clip them back in. And I mentioned the tight tolerances. Later when we put this in, you're going to see that this lines up perfectly up against the screen and there's no gaps. You might have also noticed that this comes with a screen protector already built in. We just have to peel off this piece here and that will leave us with a nice already installed screen protector, which 95% of the time I make mistakes trying to install. While we're here, I'm curious and I want to see if these knobs were ever to be retrofitted with LED versions, how hard would they be to access? So let's just take off this panel here quickly. Right here's the halfway point for the amount of screws you have to take out. Then this panel should just come off. Yeah, very easy. Yeah, so you just undo the screws, undo the ribbon cable, replace, and it's that easy. I hope they do come out with those so I can show you exactly what that looks like. Now we're transferring all the pieces that were in here from the old 8-inch or 7-inch system, and we're going to put them into the shell of the new 16.2-inch screen. Starting with the vents, these little tabs go into these little slots here, the same way that you remove them. And they should click. There, that's done. Now I have our trailer brake You can't get these wrong. They only slide in one way. So this will just clip in here. Our factory USB connections, same idea, there's a notch. Slide it in. This one fits nice and tight, that's for sure. But that also makes it secure. Then we have our AC adapter. And that should click into place as well. Now for our cigarette lighter adapter. That always has to go in first. And then this is keyed, so it slides in a certain way. And when you're taking this off, there's just these little tabs on the outside that lock into here. So if you can push those from the inside out or grab them from the outside in, then it's actually quite easy to remove. That's that. One important piece to go, and that's all of our buttons. I just noticed this only uses 3 of the screws, not one on the top. There, we're ready to put it into the vehicle. Now before we put the shell in, notice I'm going to put the screen in last, so we're not connecting the screen yet. We need to think about what all needs to be connected here. So all of this bottom portion are the factory connections. Those are sitting in the truck right now, ready to plug into the various slots. And again, you can't get those wrong. They're all very specific to each plug-in area. But here you can see I have some connections, so we'll connect those first. We'll just kind of feed them through the opening right here, and then once we get this installed, we should be able to access everything without any issues. But first, let's see what we have for connections. So this is our LTE antenna. Should we choose to use a cellular connection by installing a SIM card with a data plan and then getting our internet that way. I'm not going to get internet this way for this test. I'm going to use my phone as a hotspot. And what's really nice about this unit that's unique to the Z Innovations line is they work with wired CarPlay. That's right. So if you use your CarPlay connection wired, then you can use your phone's hotspot and it won't compete with the wireless connection for wired CarPlay because you're using wired. We have our USB connections to talk to the screen. So this will be something we connect to the screen. We'll set that aside. This is an optional GPS antenna. We are going to use the factory antenna and tie into that. So we're not going to use this cable, but they do give you one should you need it. Here is another USB connection, which will go onto the back of the screen. We'll set that aside for now. This is a very important connection. This connection here will also go to the back of the screen. I'll just put it in right now. And this will connect to a factory plug so the truck can talk to the electronics for the new screen. Now here we have some harnesses that have already connected. I'll draw your attention to this one first. This is the auxiliary cable, so we can use the auxiliary input if your vehicle has it. So that connection will go to our console. It'll run to this harness here. And this harness will also plug into the back of the screen. And then this is your SIM card tray if we wanted to use that cellular connection. There's also an amp connection here, so we're remote turn on. If you have an amplifier other than the factory one, an aftermarket one that you have installed, this would trigger it to on. And then you have some audio and video outputs and a mic output. This will use the factory mic, but you can also use an auxiliary microphone if you wanted to connect that as well. We're not going to use any of these video inputs or outputs, but they are there should you choose to use them. Part of this harness, you can see where I have our 12-volt connection here. I just pre-connected it so I didn't lose anything. This actually does connect right here, so you don't want to forget that. And then all of this will hang out the front of the screen for later. And then we have this additional harness here for a backup camera, but mine's equipped with one already, so we're not going to use this cable. So this plug right here, which we're not using, is for the 7-inch screens. So if you had the 7-inch screen, there would be an adapter that would plug into there. We're not using it because I have the 8-inch. And then because the lighting's better out here, we have these two harnesses. We're only going to use one of them, so pay attention to the numbers if you were to get this unit. Mine's a 2021, so I use this harness right here, which says 18-22, and the other harness we won't use, it'll just tuck in behind. So what I'm going to do to be ready and make this easy on myself is I'm going to have the auxiliary cable hanging in behind here, and then everything else I have feeding through the opening so we can connect it to the back of the screen. So I just have to worry about connecting these connectors like I mentioned before, running this auxiliary cable, which I will show you, clip this all in, secure it down, and then we can attach the screen. Okay, first we're going to run these USB cables to the glove box. I'm just kind of guiding it up to come in this area. Just grab it with my fingers. And there's two. Now another suggestion for these USB cables is actually run one here and leave one in the glove box. But make sure the one that you run here is for your CarPlay connection. And you can tell because one has 4 pins and one has 6. The one with the 4 pins is actually for the CarPlay. So I'm going to leave this one here in the tray. That little cutout that's on the console here. In that panel there's a little slot. I'll have this cable just laying there. It won't be compressed under anything. There's a little spot for it there. And then I'll leave the other one for auxiliary purposes in the glove box. That's ready. I have my GPS cable. This is an adapter that taps into the factory GPS. I did that in a previous install, so I'm not going to go through it today, but I can point you towards the information if you ever need it. So that's up there. So we just have to connect all this stuff to the bottom. Let's undo our auxiliary cable, get this twist tie off, and let's start doing some connections. Again, you can't get these wrong. I like to start with the bottom row first. Okay, bottom row is done. Next is this one, then this one, and then this one. So that is all of the factory connections. Now we have our auxiliary cable. I'm going to fish it down here, in behind all these harnesses. Just down here, near where this screw is going to go through, because we want to make sure that it kind of clears a path to go underneath the head unit and not be pinched by anything. So right there looks good. We've got one plug up here. This we need to keep handy. Oops, I just opened my tailgate by pushing that button. Gotta be careful of that. Okay, so that fit. It's really nice and simple. That was easy. Now we'll put all of our screws in. I have my originals that would have went up here with the factory unit. So we'll start with those. I'm going to go ahead and put these on. Finish is perfect. Now I'm going to get my cables organized. So we know that all goes somewhere. These will go in the screen. We know this can tuck in behind. So I'm going to do that right now. That can go back there. There, that's a little less to deal with. Then we want the right one of these we talked about. So I'm going to make that connection. Lock her down, and that leaves us with these right here. Let's grab our screen. Okay, here's our screen. Let the plugging in begin. So we'll start here. A little tricky to do with one hand, but I'm determined. Maybe if I put it the right way. Okay, so that's in. This one you don't use. This is for the original screen. Then we just plug in all these. Let's start with that one. Plug in our power next. I'm going to use my leg to hold this, so I can use 2 hands. Good. 8 goes right here. Our USBs right here. That one we don't use. And there's the big one. And I'm not using some of those other harnesses we reviewed. So that should be that. Now we just neatly make sure everything is going to fit in there. I don't see any problem. And we just have to line up those tabs and push it in. She's in. Now we'll run our auxiliary cable. Remember, it just has to be under here somewhere, and then it comes up and we can plug it in right there. Now we'll grab our tray and reinstall it. But before I forget, this trim piece has to go back in. Okay, a little finesse here, because I have this extra controller, which just fits beautifully right there for whatever reason. Lucked out, I guess. Before I go too far, got to remember to plug in your fob sensor. And then again, I don't use my charging pad from factory, so I'm not going to connect that. I have an aftermarket one in my armrest, but this should just slide in nice. There, that's easy. And I think this is an opportune time to take off this protective film on top of the screen shield that's already installed. This could have been a dent, but it didn't fall open because there was enough tension on this, so we lucked out. Just be careful with that. So before we go too far, I just wanted to highlight to everybody that this screen has been sitting in a box in my garage for about 6 weeks. Consider this like beta testing, because there's already been improvements and patches and just some small refinements that have already taken place that my screen doesn't have installed yet. I'm going to show you how to do some pretty cool updates together on this video. And then we'll do just kind of an overview of what it does for you and its features, knowing that I still have some updating to do and some little things to work out. But if it's anything like the Z Innovation screens of the past that I also still have, the 13.1 inch and the 12.3 inch, I think those are the sizes. They're very stable and they're known for stability. If there's one thing that Z Innovations is known for, is their software and its ability to work on these larger screens is very stable and very reliable. So that in itself is something they wanted to make sure they retained with this vertical version, these Tesla style screens. So if it's at least like that, I think we'll be in for a pretty good experience. But let's go look at a little bit of everything and see what we find. Okay, let's get the show on the road. Right now I'm hooked up to a battery tender on supply mode, so I am not going to have to worry about killing my battery for these tests. So I'm going to turn it on to full accessory mode. So everything's going to be really noisy, like my dash cam, radar. Give that stuff a second here. Roll up my windows, make it dark in here. So that's the least amount of reflection I can provide you. Okay, so here is the main car user interface, or car UI as they also call it. And then you have your knob here for climate control for the left side. You can see it adjust here. And then this is for the passenger side, so driver's side and passenger side. And then you have a button here to turn it all off. You have your AC button here, turn your AC on. Then you have your auto button there. So all of that works. I don't want the fan blowing on me, so I'm turning it off right now. And then over here, you do have your buttons for defrost, all that stuff. These all correspond to those functions. But again, I'm going to turn it off. Here's your factory view of all of your systems. So we can look at our cameras. You can see it all works. So that's that. That's pretty simple to understand. If you want to leave, you have the home button right here. You can control your volume right here on the screen. You can also use your steering wheel controls, which I'm using right now. So steering wheel controls work right there. It just doesn't show it doing anything on the screen, but that's where it is. So these are all the buttons that you'd have originally on the screen that you had prior. And this is the layout for the 8-inch screen. So that's the style that we have. We have the dual climate controls, which is why these knobs are set to climate. These knobs are not volume and they're not fan speed. However, I'm told if you had the 7-inch version of the screen, which in that trim level of truck wouldn't give you dual climate control, then these knobs may be set to volume on this side and fan speed on that side, and then you'd adjust your climate accordingly. We can still adjust our climate controls down here as well. So you can see it turned everything back on. So all of this works as you would expect, as well as if you press right here. Oh, I should mention the heated and cooled seats. All the controls are right there. But if you press this button, notice this, you got the GMC accurate looking steering wheel. The trim that we have in the vehicle matches exactly. I have asked if we could maybe make this a dark mode. I just think it's a little easier on the eyes. It sounds like something that can be done, but either way, I think that looks really good. And this is your full climate control settings. Everything is here on one screen if you want quick access to it from wherever you are in the system. So if I'm out in an area like this with all the apps, I can just hit this and I have everything right there. There's no need to go back to the car UI interface, which is this button right here. I also have this set up that this is my screen that I load to every time I turn my truck on. I would prefer it be this, and then for some reason, if this was ever in for service, the technician's just going to see this. They probably, maybe they'll play with it, but they probably wouldn't know where to go to get anything else to happen. So you can set whatever you want to be your go-to screen, but this is what I have, and that's the reasons why I do that. Now, when you first start up the screen, you might end up here. So this is a dashboard that normally loads as one of the options for how this screen could come equipped. Now, we don't have to have it always come to the screen. I've set it up to go to the car user interface, but you do have a home screen where you can put a bunch of widgets, and then you have access to all of your apps. But before we go deep into anything, we need to do some updates. And I think what you see right here is really going to get you excited, because not all, but many of the updates that are going to be more routine maintenance are going to be right here provided to you for over-the-air updates, and they'll just be pushed to be available through these various apps, if you will. So for example, I'm going to update my CAN bus. I'm already connected to Wi-Fi because I did a little bit of configuring for the benefit of this video. And then right now it's just going to download that and update it. So while it's performing that update, and we'll do the others as well, think about how convenient that is, that you don't need to reach out to support. They're just going to be here if there's something that applies to your screen. Now, if it's a more complicated update or something of a huge file size, I talked to Z Innovations and they're going to send you a USB drive already loaded with what you need. But going back to this, I like the idea of the more simple over-the-air type fixes, that they can build you an app, which they have right into the screen, and you interface with that and it takes care of it for you. I think that's a pretty cool advancement. Okay, update. So this is the first one, updated, done. So it's closing some stuff, that's okay. Updates usually make things misbehave at first, and we're just going to go through the list here and get all of these completed. Okay, this is the last one. Update. Now I'm going to do a restart, just so everything synchronizes properly. Now, if you're wondering what this dot is here, this is a shortcut to various quick apps. You can also remove this so it doesn't exist, or you can just move your little dot out of the way wherever it's convenient to reach later. So again, just another little enhancement for interactivity. So next I'm going to show you CarPlay. Right now I have my phone connected through CarPlay through the USB cable that is the original USB cable that comes with the vehicle, right up at the front where you would normally charge your phone or use wired CarPlay. So I can do it this way, or I could do it wirelessly to my original car user interface. However, this unit itself also supports wired CarPlay. So we can take our USB cable, notice it just disconnected, and we can plug it in the USB cable that I moved to the tray. So that little pocket down below, if you have a console, running a USB cable there could be very convenient. So I just plugged into the USB cable that comes with the screen. So there is wired CarPlay. So obviously full screen, which is going to be some people's preference. And then of course you can adjust all your settings however you want to do it. So you do have access to your cameras. When you reverse, it's all going to show here. And if you're in any app, even not this one, when you put it into reverse, which I'll show you here, I'll go to the home screen, put it in reverse, and it will force it to this view. If we go to our apps, you can see I've downloaded some apps already. So we have Netflix as an example. This is one that I often show just for demonstrations. Pick a show, hit play. You can also download to this device.
Thanks a lot. Junk. You almost got us killed.
So there is a little bit of an audio delay, but if you're used to using these devices, you'll know that you'll usually have a little bit of video with the audio delayed, and that's just because of processing. We have a high definition signal, we're processing that data, and there's a bit of a delay. I'll do a split screen demonstration next. You could use apps like Be Nice. Now this Be Nice app is on the Google Play Store. Let's open Netflix. So there's Netflix and Waze as an example, and then you can switch to either app. So this is using the app Be Nice from the Google Play Store. So we're going to close that all together, and then we're going to open Netflix. Netflix is ready, and then we're going to open Waze. So their Waze is open. Now if I go here, you can pick which two apps you want split screen. So we'll pick Waze and we'll pick Netflix. So this is the built-in split screen. And depending on the order that you pick them, one will be on the top and one will be on the bottom. So you can see the bottom one is a little smaller. and that's because right now these controls are using up some of that screen space. Now this could be something that could be part of an update where maybe this toggles downward and you get a little more screen space with the bottom app. It really just depends on, you know, what you deem important. I just wanted to demonstrate a couple different ways to do split screen. Now the amount of customizing is plenty. You have so much you can do. I don't suggest messing with all of the settings, but there are a lot there, including a night mode. Let me show you that one here. So I think you'll like this. Instead of playing with your brightness at night or anything like that, just hit night mode and you can see the screen changed quite a bit. Right now it's much easier on the eyes if I was driving at night. Very easy to change back. There's a lot that you can do here. I'm not going to go through everything here, but I did want to point out, because some people will ask, this is Android 15 right here, just so you can see that, Android 15. And then again, you still have all kinds of settings. We have good GPS signal, and I'm in my garage right now because I have the factory GPS antenna tapped. That always works much better. Now these lights do illuminate around the bezel. I'm just going to cover my ambient light sensor up here. You can see that the lights do light up around the border. So just like your interior, all of these lights, as long as it's dark enough outside, they will light up. So that's good to know that that's there. Now I do have a bit of a safety tip for you. I understand that the vehicles that these screens go into are sometimes subject to criminals. They will steal the vehicle with your screen. And if you think about everything that you logged into, including the Google Play Store to download and update apps, there's personal information there, maybe tied to your pay methods. So we have a suggestion for you, and this comes right from Z Innovations. When you go to the Google Play Store, instead of logging in with your personal account, which I had done, set up a dedicated account to your truck. You could call it whatever you want, but set up a Gmail that is for your truck specifically, and then you don't have to tie pay methods to it, and then you can just have that account dedicated to your truck. That way if somebody stole it, they're not going to have access to important information, especially your pay, your banking, whatever you might have tied to it, and you can just shut that account down, or even if they lock you out of it, it's no big deal because it just had to do with putting apps on a screen. So I think that was a pretty good tip, so I might even implement that with this unit. I'll just show you a couple more quick things. So you remember I have that switch panel I showed earlier in the video, which controls all my lighting and a bunch of accessories, my air compressor and so on. That app can be downloaded right on here. This software is unrestricted, so we can download things like this. Now using the screen, I'm also learning things as I go. There's an app you can download called Google Maps Go. It's a skinnier version of the full Google Maps program. This app actually uses much less data than the full app, and it seems to work quite well. So if you're using a SIM card or you're worried about your data usage, you might want to try this app right here. It works on the screen nicely, and it's just something that I learned that uses less data, and it's a good alternative. So I just wanted to point that out. Well, I'm not really sure what else I can show you here. I mean, you have some shortcut apps up here. You have apps. You have a file explorer, your settings, your car UI, which we've shown. This is for your CarPlay. That's my CarPlay connected with my phone. Have some messages I got to tend to. You can carefully swipe right to get to your apps that way, or you can use the shortcut here at the top. So some little things that need to be worked out, like this background and the contrast of the text, can make some of the ones over here difficult to read. Those are easy fixes. They just haven't been addressed yet. Again, I just took this out of the box. It's been sitting for about 6 weeks. I haven't really got to play with it too much, but so far I like what I'm seeing. I was just doing a little customizing, playing around, and you can see I changed my wallpaper. I just looked for an image that was a big enough resolution that when it cropped in, it would fill the screen. But you could have some fun with this, I suppose, and you could have a picture of your truck or what have you. And then it's as simple as clicking the wallpaper, pressing this icon up here, and it'll say, do you want to set this as your wallpaper? You hit yes, and you exit out, there it is. Now here the widgets kind of obscure it, but I just wanted to show you out of the box that you can customize your wallpaper. So I think I'm going to leave it here. We could spend hours going through every app and what you can or maybe can't do, but I just wanted to show you the basic functionality. Now my whole time I've been connected through auxiliary, not Bluetooth. I don't even have this paired at all with my truck. I'm just using auxiliary. Now if you don't have auxiliary, that's okay. Z Innovations will send you an adapter to connect to your USB, whether it be in your console right there, or whether it be the one up here, it will convert the audio that way for you. So that is the newest from Z Innovations, their 16.2 inch vertical Tesla style screen. And I have to say, I do like it. I think I'll have to make a follow-up video maybe in about a month or so from now, so I get some more road time with it, and then I can provide you a few more updates, which maybe I wasn't able to accomplish in this video. Again, I don't want to make a 2-hour video and bore everybody when you're just trying to find the parts that interest you. So hopefully I achieved that by giving you enough so you have a good idea of what to expect if this is something you want to check out. If it is, I'll leave links in the video description below. You can get all the information there. And I know with Z Innovations, you'll get a 1-year warranty and you will get after-sales service from them. And you gotta love the built-in updates already built into an app on the screen. And again, if there's something big they need to send you, they will on a USB drive. Plug it in, run the file, do the install, and you're up to date. I don't think it can get much simpler than that. But on that note, if you liked today's video, hit that like button. Please consider subscribing, and we'll talk to you next time.